Today's video is going to be one of a handful on the topic of determining hourly rates for a service-based business. Hey, welcome to another episode. My name is Ryan and I am your host, and today we are going to be looking at hourly rates. This really works for any service-based business. This is Lawn Crack, so we are focusing on the lawn care and landscaping industry. And before we really get into this number crunching series, I do want to preface everything by saying that I'm not an accountant. I learned everything that I'm trying to portray to you in these videos by asking my CPA and just researching online and stuff like this, working with my business coach, Jim Crusby of Profit Solutions Group. So, I'm by no means an expert in this, but I run profitable businesses, and the reason, one of the reasons why that is because I understand my numbers and how everything correlates and interacts and plays together and all this kind of stuff. So the whole point of the Lawn Crack YouTube channel is to help guys improve their lawn care and landscaping business. I'm sure there are guys out there running better businesses than I ran, and I'm sure there's plenty that are doing worse. So I'm just sharing my opinions in the videos. I hope you find them valuable. I won't ever intentionally steer you wrong. I'm trying to provide value to the community, just sharing my knowledge. So that's all it is. If you want to learn this kind of stuff, please join us, but let's hop into it and take a look at what we're dealing with today. Okay, and then another thing is there are several other videos on this on YouTube, and if you search Google, you're going to get hundreds of thousands of results. So you don't have to just take what I'm telling you. Please reference other material and stuff like that, and I'll put some links in the video description to point you in the right direction there. But so we have this titled Determining Hourly Rates, because that is what we're doing. And like I said, I'm gonna have several videos on this topic, so this is just kind of to get you an idea. We're gonna dive into more specifics and different stuff like that, looking at multiple crews and how spreading overhead out over multiple employees reduces how much you need to bring in per hour, etc., etc. But we're focusing on what we're doing here. So I'm doing this on a yearly basis right here. So basically what this is saying is salary. So you as the owner, and if you look down here real quick, we're doing this as a lawn mowing company. So a company that just mows grass with a solo operator, so owner-operator business, and this is just to hopefully make this easier to comprehend. So we're dealing with yearly numbers. So the owner of this owner-operated lawn mowing business wants to pay himself $50,000. So that is the owner's wages. So the owner gets $50,000. So that's almost like $1,000 a week, right? Okay. So now you have, you can slice this a bunch of ways, but you're going to have variable and overhead expenses. You can call them direct and indirect expenses. You're going to have these expenses in any kind of business. So for direct expenses, this is going to be things like gas. Yeah, for lawn mowing, it's going to be gas. Basically, you're going to have gas, and you might have trimmer string, stuff like this. But then you're kind of getting into indirect expenses. So that's why this is going to be broken up over several videos, so I can hopefully portray this well. But indirect expenses are going to be things that also known as overhead that recur month after month. Like whether you're doing work or not, you're going to have these expenses. So direct expenses are going to be your truck payment, your insurance payment, mower payments if you have those, if you have a cell phone bill, internet bill, things that are going to recur month after month unless you cancel, sell it, shut it down, pay it off, whatever. It's going to happen whether you're making money or not. So we get back to direct expenses, which are going to vary, variable expenses. So this is like gas for that job. Like if you stop doing jobs, you wouldn't need to buy gas for your work truck or your lawnmowers anymore. That cost would go away because you're done producing revenue. So your variable expenses are what you need to basically do that job, and then overheads kind of stuff. And overhead is the stuff that's going to recur month after month, but it's stuff that can also be spread out to multiple jobs or multiple clients, stuff like that. So if you had like an office employee, that's going to be an indirect expense, because you can't necessarily say for this mowing job over here we had to pay her this. No. So but on a direct expense, variable expense, like a lawn mowing crew member, they're only going to be working when they're mowing grass and they were on that customer's property. You can directly allocate that expense to that job. So just trying to keep it simple, but also like let you know like what is going on here. So you have salary. We need to account for this number. We need to account for our direct expenses. We need to account for indirect expenses, and we need to profit. That is crucial. Don't forget your profit. You're in business to make money. This is the salary, $50,000. This is what you're paying yourself as the owner. The business also needs to make money so it can afford to buy new equipment in the future, to afford repairs and stuff like this. If you aren't accounting for profit, then those costs are going to come out of the owner's salary. And this is not a good or ideal scenario. So make sure your business is profiting. So if we take all these numbers here, basically we need to account for $104,000 to make all these things come true, be paid for, stuff like that, right? Okay, so the green on this sheet is kind of the money. The gold color boxes is dealing with time, hours worked, stuff like that. And then the blue is when we're going to break this down into like on an individual, looking at the customers and stuff like that. How is the revenue actually being generated? How long is it going to take? How realistic is this? Stuff like that. Okay, so time. We're dealing with lawn care. So hours to work per week. So let's just say 40. I'm not a fan of just working 40 hours a week. I think you should at least work 50. But we're going to say 40 for the spreadsheet, and we're going to play around with the numbers at the end. So weeks per year, like I use 39 because in my area, that's how many like working weeks in the season there were for the lawn care industry. Basically, you started cutting grass in the spring, 39 weeks later, it's basically around Thanksgiving. The grass is pretty much done growing. It might be a little sooner, it might be a later, depending on the year. There's variables. You might have to use hypothetical numbers. You might have to estimate numbers, but having something is better than nothing. So even if you have nothing to go with, make stuff up and try this out, okay? So hours per week, 40 hours per week at 39 weeks per year. The total hours worked in this year is going to be 1,560. So that number comes right here. And if we divide 104,000, all the money we need to account for, divided by the hours we want to work, we need to make $66.67 an hour. So hopefully that's not just blowing your mind that that's too much money, because it's not too much money. Okay, so let's come down to the bottom half of the sheet here. We need to generate 104,000 to make this a reality. Let's look at that in regards to how many hours you want to work. And we're just doing this as mowing lawn solo operator just to make it easier to understand. So average cut price. So let's just say $40. If you took all the customers you had, maybe lawns in your area, typically $40 is going to be the average price. What's the average price? Put it in here. How many times do you cut them a year? Like I said, our work week's 39 weeks around here. We usually end up getting about 30 cuts. Sometimes it's a little less depending on a drought or not a drought that year, stuff like that. So sometimes it's a little more. So this number can vary. But basically the average price times the average number of times you cut them is going to get you your average customer yearly value. So this is how much one client is worth to your company per year. In this scenario with these two numbers right here, the value is $1,200. So this is pretty accurate to my business. I try to keep all my numbers on my spreadsheets grounded in reality. So we got our target revenue right here again. So our target revenue is $104,000. It's just pulling from right here. The value of one mowing client, we determined that right here, $1,200. So if we take the money we're trying to generate versus how much one client will generate us per year, we're going to need 86.7 clients. So you can imagine how hard it's going to be to find 0.7 of a client. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. You're going to have to round this up to 87 clients. You got to keep these videos somewhat entertaining, you know what I mean? Okay, so let's go look at working days in a week. So I have 5. Why do I have 5? Because we work outside. It rains. You could potentially have a week washout. But let's just say that, you know, you're going to be okay working 5 days a week. If you book out 5 days on your schedule every week, you still have 2 complete rain days where you can potentially make those up on Saturday and Sunday and basically stay on schedule. So that's a whole nother thing to deal with in the lawn care and landscaping industry. But I don't suggest, you know, maxing out 7 days worth of work, because you're not going to be able to hold your schedule. So if we just say we're going to max out 5 days, we're looking at clients to mow per working day. So we're taking, what is this doing? F20 minus F divided by F22. So we have our clients divided by the days in the week. So we need to get 17.3 lawns cut per day. So is that possible? Let's see. Target hours worked per day. So your goal is 8 hours a day. Since we're working 40 hours in a week over a 5-day work week, that's going to be 8 hours a day. So you're going to need to mow 2.2 lawns per hour to accomplish this and make your 50 grand as your owner. Your business is going to have $24,000 more than it started with at the beginning of the year, and you've paid for all of your expenses to generate that income. So honestly, in reality, since you're probably a sole proprietor or a LLC or a LLC taxed as an S Corp, this $24,000 is actually flowing through to this, and in this scenario you honestly made $74,000 is what you made as the owner of this company. But we have to account for profit, because if we don't account for profit, then the owner is going to be using his own dollars to put back into the business. And if it's done on the up and up, that's fine. But you have to understand, you guys that are just getting going, one of the first things you need to do is business bank account, personal bank account. Like you cannot commingle funds. Like that is a great way to end up in federal prison. Like if you are blatantly doing this and you start to happen to make a lot of money, the government is liable to throw you in jail. Literally. Screw getting a fine, which is going to be hefty. You might get fined and go to jail. So don't mess with the IRS, man. That is definitely not what these videos are about. But so there's things in here that we haven't accounted for. We haven't accounted for maintenance. We haven't accounted for routing. We haven't accounted for scheduling. I want to let you guys know, I realize this. Like, I'm trying to get the basics across in these videos. So I understand this is not a perfect spreadsheet by any means. The hopes is that you have a better understanding of how these numbers work together and interact and what they mean and how you can use them to improve your business. But let's take a look at messing with a couple of these numbers. Because whenever I build out a spreadsheet like this, I have the fields are calculating themselves based off the values in the other fields, so we can mess around with these numbers. So let's take a look at, let's say you you're fine just making $40,000. As the owner of the business, you're like $40,000 would be plenty for me. So $40,000. So we're gonna drop $10,000. So this number is gonna become 94. And let's see how many lawns per hour do you need to mow if you're willing to make $10,000 less as the owner. 0.2 lawns per hour. So to me, I would make 10 grand more and cut 0.2 more lawns per hour. But this is just showing you what happens with these numbers. So let's say it's fine if your business only profits $12,000. Oops. Okay, so let's say it's fine if your business only profits $12,000. Now you only need to cut 1.7 lawns per hour. So this just goes back into how important it is to have tight routes, to have your lawns priced properly and stuff like that. But let's bring these numbers back to how they were. We're not really trying to skimp out on this kind of stuff right here. Let's say you are willing to do this. If you could generate this, you are willing to work 55 hours per week. And maybe 55 hours per week could account for routing, invoicing, maintenance, all that kind of stuff. So let's throw that in there. Okay, so we're still making the same amount of money now. We're still making the same amount of money, but we only need to bring in 48 per hour. So lawns to mow per hour is now down to 1.6. I understand that now this is actually like out in the field mowing grass time, so we still actually haven't accounted for our our maintenance and our routing and our scheduling and all that. But if we kept that there, so you'd have to hit 2.2 lawns per hour, which, guys, I did this in my business. It really wasn't that hard to do if you're cutting small lawns that are priced right and they're close together. This is not unrealistic. If you're dropping your gate and cutting 4 or 5 houses at a time, this is 4 stops. This is 4 stops in a day. So I don't want to hear the comments, but this could never happen. Guys, I did this. There's companies that do this every day. There's companies doing 10 times this, 100 times this. So don't let your small-mindedness hold you back either. And definitely don't let you gotta feel like you gotta give everybody a deal and this and that. F all that stuff, y'all. I had to get over that myself in my business, and thank God I did, because who knows what would be going on right now if I didn't. But okay, let's take a look at another thing. Let's raise the cut price, and I'm probably gonna have a whole video on raising your prices and how this interacts with everything. But we have our salary still at 50. We're still profiting 24,000. We only want to work 40 hours in a week, and we just raised our price across the board $10. Look, we're down to 70 customers needed instead of 87. I believe it was at 87 before. Yep, 87. So if we just raise our price $10, we can make these same numbers with 14 or 17 less customers. So, oh man, let's say, hey, average number of cuts per year, we got 32 cuts in this year. So now you're just doing 1.6 lawns per hour. So hopefully this gets you an idea of what the whole series is about. And I think this is a good starting base. This is the second video in the series if you're just getting started with us. And I just want to quickly highlight here, guys, LawnCrack and Optimize have free tools. Please take advantage of them. You can find them on the websites. They're right here. Optimize.design is the actual website domain, and LawnCrack.com is a more traditional domain name, but we have the area calculator on LawnCrack. That's also on Google Play and the iOS App Store. We have the original profit calculators. If you know anything about them, you can still get both of them for free on LawnCrack's homepage. Scroll down to the bottom, and I've written several blogs on LawnCrack's blog. I go into a lot of different topics in the lawn care and landscaping industry. But Optimize, guys, we're absolutely crushing the internet. The results we're getting are insane. So call us if you need more leads coming in from online. It's really that simple. And then you can also grab your direct Google link. So what I do with mine is I put it in my email signature, and people just randomly leave me Google reviews because it's right there and they can just click on it that easy. So that's that. I hope you found value. If you did, please remember to like and subscribe. It really means a lot. And until the next video, keep making money.